Hello, well, I'm Frank from the Netherlands and worked for the last 5 years for the service called NaWas, which means National Washing Street, and which is a not-for-profit, community-based DDoS detection and mitigation platform. Well, you would say, how is that? How is it possible to have a not-for-profit mitigation platform running that can work? Well, I have to explain that because Dutch people are really nice in cooperation together and solve problems together. So in 2013, when in the Netherlands the problem of DDoS came across, the Dutch internet suppliers community found out, hey, if we have to solve this problem, we have to buy Arbor, Radware, Correro, and this equipment is very, very expensive. It's like 300K for an investment and then 100K for maintenance as well. So before, this community already solved another problem. And that was the problem of lawful interception, when the government sends out a law order. And you, as a service provider, you have to oblige and you have to place a tap to share data with the government. Well, we are not working for the government. We solve this problem to start a collective, a foundation, to help each other fulfill the request of the government. So basically, there's a lawful order coming in. We check the content if it's compliant with the law, and then we send out a guy in a car with a server to a data center who really puts the tap in there for the time being. And on base of that community, well, the NaWas started on the same principle. So 6 of our Dutch ISPs put money together and built the first washing street. And why it was called Washing Street? Well, if you go with your car to a washing street, well, there are the first brushes taking off the big stuff. Then there is a second row of brushes taking off the smaller stuff. And in the end, well, there is a device to keep the car more shiny and better. That's the analogy for the NaWas. If I jump now to today, the services are available in 8 countries, and we have more than 132 members. And you would say, okay, Frank, well, is this working? Because there is Cloudflare, there is Akamai, there are globally available services who, well, do maybe much better, but they are super expensive as well. So in the beginning, the service was intended for the smaller ISPs and VoIP providers. But today we are protecting government, we are protecting tier 1 ISPs as well. Because, well, the quality is very well and the pricing is very low. We keep the price like 400 euros a month, like an entrance. If you, probably you guys will know, if you work with Cloudflare, you start paying like 6,000, 8,000 euros a month. And you don't have the flexibility, you don't have the insight, you don't have the reporting. And if you call them, hey guys, can you keep this /24 open for another 8 hours or whatever? No go. Well, we can do that. We are part of, well, the NBIP. And we are running, well, as mentioned, also the lawful interception service. And last year we opened also a Clean Networks platform, which is against abuse and which is growing very fast. So basically, our foundation is solving collectively problems for VoIP and ISP providers in the Netherlands, but also now in Europe. So if I jump down to the Netherlands situation, we are protecting more than 43% of the .nl domains, which is a lot. So I already told you that some governmental organizations are behind NaWas indirectly, and a lot of ISPs. This sheet is not very complete because, well, the services are available in many internet exchanges. Over here, where we work with NLEX, we work with NetNot. And the number of IXs connected to NaWas is growing. We do a lot on reporting because we share the data with universities, we share the data with other institutions like in Netherlands, SEDN. and building projects together to, for instance, have a database on fingerprints. A lot of guys asked me yesterday and before, okay, Frank, who are those nasty guys setting up DDoS? What is the reason and why is it not stopping? Well, you all know what the DDoS is. You all know that's generated by botnets. You all know that it's settling your pipelines. But, well, who are profiting of sending out DDoS as well? Lately, you have seen the war in Ukraine. You have seen the Russian people reacting to that. And 2 weeks ago, for instance, there was, I don't know the name anymore, from the guy in the European Parliament, but he was saying, okay, we will help Ukraine. We put another billions of dollars in there because it's bad, blah, 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 blah. Well, 5 minutes later, there was a message out in Telegram, and the Russian people said, okay, Mr. Her, this is not so nice. You should spend the money on your own people in your own country to give them a better life, etc., etc. And we don't like it if you put down your website. Well, really, 5 minutes later, the website was put down. And it was not a very sophisticated attack, but the effect on the PR and in the press was enormously. Well, the geopolitical actors using DDoS for PR reasons to get attention, or even to, well, really disable functional systems in harbors or airports. It's happening a lot more. It's just a part of the war. Another example, we have multiple vendors in our mitigation setup, and one of them is Radware, which is an Israeli company. And you also know that a lot of new type of attacks are on the layer 7, like the application layer. We have seen DDoS carpet bombing. We have seen rapid resets type of attacks. A lot of new stuff going around. And then we have our own knowledge to solve it, to build new mitigation methods, but also, well, we work with the red teams, with the big vendors around. Well, we called the Israeli people from Radware. Well, we see some new stuff, can you help us out? And they told us, oh, we are in a war right now, we have no time for you. So you really have to build your own knowledge, your own ways of mitigation, and be prepared for new attacks. New attacks, we didn't see them for the last 5 years, but now they are coming based off, well, again, the geopolitical actors and the money the Russians put in to destabilize the West. So sharing data with the communities and reporting about it, it's enormous base of knowledge to do our work in a better way. So these are just a few examples of the data we share. It's about the number of attacks. If you look at the NaWas production right now, it's between 6 and 10 attacks every day. Last quarter, the biggest one was 139 gigabits per second, which is not that big. Last week, we had another 300 and another 400 gigabits attacks running. Luckily, it were just UDP flat attacks, so volumetric and not that difficult to mitigate. If you look at the type of attacks we see lately, it's a lot on the DNS, and the DNS is not so easy to mitigate. It's, well, I can explain later on, but there are very effective mitigation methods developed to get around that as well. So we share data on the duration, on the source, on the destination, on the type, on the number of geeks, and of course, well, we try to work with the government as well, if attackers can be put in jail as well. This is just another example of some data we share. As mentioned before, we also work together with universities and government, and the cooperation between the banks to share data and help them protect, keep their services up. We have multiple projects running, funded by European Committee as well, to do mitigation on the edge, which will, well, will pay off in the next future. So how does it work? Finally, this is the interesting part, I think. Well, if you have your network running, you probably have a detection tool already, or you do detection by hand, which is not that clever, because what happens in the weekend, what happens in the night, and most attacks are still coming from China. So because of the time difference, it's during the period where we are not working. But there are very effective tools around, like FastNetMon, FlowMon, Genie Networks, and several very payable tools who do the monitoring of your network. And when the baseline of the traffic is learned, false positives are killed. The detection of an attack can be done easily. So how does it work? If the prefix under attack is automated, the setup to the routers is automated, then if the attack comes in, the prefix is by the BGP session on the routers rerouted to the NaWas servers, and the mitigation process automatically started. So we have three phases of mitigation. The first is the pre-filtering, and with the pre-filtering, you do 80% of the volumetric traffic is already dropped. Then we have a device. I'm not allowed to call the names of the vendors, but we have all AAA vendors in a row, which I never seen in any mitigation platform anywhere in Europe. So the second device is mitigating also a lot of volumetric attacks, volumetric traffics. And then the third device is more on the layer 7 and the intelligent traffic. So finally, we have three phases of mitigation where the clean traffic after is sent back through a private VLAN or closed user group at an IX of your choice. We are also testing with geo-retunneling, because a lot of VoIP providers are not at an internet exchange. They don't need to buy expensive ports. So geo-retunneling is available in a few weeks as well. Any questions on the working of the mitigation platform, maybe? Or we can do it at the end as well. Yeah, okay. So as the actors move, building new attacks, we have some roadmap as well to prepare for stuff is coming. We will invest a lot in detection as a service. Now detection is done in your network by your people. So you have to, well, put time and money and effort and resources in detection, which maybe for you guys is not a problem. But we also serve more and more enterprises who have their own AS number, who host their own internet traffic, and they don't have the knowledge. So we definitely will work on detection as a service, but the downside of it, that you have to set all your flows to our network. And probably not everyone does like that. Second thing we are doing is, well, building the websites by a WAF, which is available on the market already, but not in the combination with the concept we have, and at a very low pricing as well. As mentioned before, we are part of a coalition, and in this coalition is government, universities, banking, and all other stakeholders combined, and we're setting up. This is still a Dutch coalition, but we are growing and being part of some programs from European Committee. We are looking to add international parties as well. Later I can share data with you if you want to join. There's no problem. Of course, DDoS is not only a local problem in Netherlands, but because it started in Netherlands, well, most stakeholders are still Dutch guys. And the thing for future where we can help mitigate others much better is building a database on fingerprints of DDoS attacks. That can be done internationally. So in our vision, we have now a redundant setup in Amsterdam. And the reason I asked the guys from the committee to do the presentation here, last year we opened a local mitigation platform here in Interaction in Copenhagen as well. So we can offer local scrubbing here at a very attractive fee and guarantee that the traffic will stay in the country. Because for financial institutions and law, it's becoming more and more a rule that the data are not allowed to leave the border. So we are more and more forced to offer local scrubbing. The good thing is that if you combine mitigation platforms together, you can share capacity and you can share data. So if an attack is coming in the south of Europe, you can immediately share the data with the platform in North Europe, where maybe the attack can be forthcoming as well. So in our vision, we are building mitigation platform on every major hub in Europe, protecting the European border. That will be, well, achieved in the next 4 or 5 years because it's a lot of investment. Therefore, we are looking for new members to contribute as well. So if you want to join NaWas, contact me later or send me an email or whatever. Really appreciate it. And that's it. Questions? Thank you.
Hi, it's Alexi from Finland. So how many digits in the membership fee?
How many digits in the membership?
Yeah.
Well, it's the pricing model is based on the number of prefixes in your AS. So it's a flat fee. And we don't count traffic, we don't count the number of attacks a month. It starts from 400 euros a month and it goes up to 4,000 for 10,000 prefixes. So that's not so many.
No other questions? Oh.
Henrik Ramselund from Security. I would like to know if the trend in the attacks are the attacks simple? So one attacker, one DDoS, is that kind of like the same type of traffic, or sometimes we hear that they are changing their tactics and making random short bursts of this and then short bursts of this to make it more complex. What is the trend of the types of attacks? If
the
you
trend
understand?
is that the type of attacks are more complex. So a combination. And well, in the past, the attacks were focused on layer 3, whatever. That was easy. That was just volumetric. You saw an enormous spike in your network. It was pretty clear what is going on. But then after, there were new types of attacks with not a lot of traffic, but very small number of traffic. And the adjacent tools were not able to detect that. So today we see a lot of attacks on the layer 7. That's really a trend on the application. We see a lot of DNS attacks, which is not easy to mitigate as well. So trend is shorter ones, more complex, more variation, and more difficult to mitigate. And DDoS is definitely here to stay. That's pretty clear. So I hope that's the good answer.
Okay, we're here.
Hi, it's Alexi again from Finland.
Yeah.
So one thing that I guess you've also noticed is that especially from APTs, they sometimes make a big DDoS and then hide intrusion inside the DDoS stream. Do you also offer protection or detection for that?
It's not easy, but there are mitigation methods and ways to help for coming that. Cannot share everything on stage, but probably one-to-one.
Anything else? No, whoa, I see one. Stefan from Codex. I find the signature part very interesting. Will that actually make you able to prevent something before it happens?
It definitely helps. if a text comes in one geolocation to share the data with other locations, where probably the attack will come after. But it's still like the antivirus stuff long ago. It's the cat and mouse game. Definitely can help, but you can find always new ways of attack, more complex attacks, where your mitigation is always behind. That ever will be the game.
Okay, don't see any remaining questions, so I would like to thank you for
Thank you very much.
presenting here today.
Bye-bye.
A big applause.